They were the agency's best, until falling in love made them the enemy. The security drone passed 3 meters overhead, its scanning beam painting red patterns across the Valorian Trade Summit's eastern gallery. Dominic Rains held absolutely still in the ventilation shaft, counting heartbeats. 17 seconds until the next patrol cycle. Enough time to drop, access the terminal, and extract the quantum encryption codes. The drone's hum faded. He released the grate and dropped silently into the maintenance corridor below. Kira Thessan was already at the terminal. "Show off," he muttered into his subvocal mic. Her fox-like ears twitched, rust-colored fur catching the amber emergency lighting. Those clawed fingers danced across the haptic interface without looking up. "You're getting slow, Rains," she whispered back. 3 months working together, 3 months learning to read every ear position, every tail movement, every subtle shift in her posture. It was getting dangerous how well he could read her. Dominic took position at the corridor junction, watching both approaches while she worked. The summit hummed with activity 1 level above, diplomatic facade keeping the border regions stable. The agency had other plans for those codes. 30 seconds, Kira said. Her reflection caught in the polished wall panel. She'd pulled her hair back tight, revealing where rust fur faded to cream along her neck. He'd noticed that detail during their first briefing 6 missions ago, and he kept noticing it. Footsteps echoed from the northern passage. "Company, 2 guards." Kira's ears flattened, but her hands never stopped moving. 45 seconds before their pattern brings them close enough to see the terminal. The footsteps grew louder. Dominic drew his sidearm. "Agency issues subsonic rounds." "Kira." "I know." The guards rounded the corner. Dominic fired twice. Both dropped, tranquilizer rounds working in under 3 seconds. Clean. Kira pulled the data drive free and slipped it into her vest. The terminal went dark just as the bodies hit the floor. They moved fast through the maintenance warren, Kira's enhanced senses guiding them. She could smell route changes, detect body heat through walls, hear conversations 3 rooms away. The agency had recruited her for exactly those abilities. They'd never bothered to ask if she'd stay loyal when she learned what the codes were really for. Kira stopped abruptly. Wrong. Patrol patterns shifted, counterclockwise instead of clockwise, more guards than there should be. Dominic checked his tactical display. She was right. A dozen additional guards had materialized, moving with purpose. "They know we're here." "Impossible," we triggered no. "They know." Her tail lashed, frustrated. "Service elevator to the docking ring. Steal a ship, standard contingency." The elevator waited ahead, access panel glowing green. Unlocked, unguarded. "Too easy." "We don't have another option," Kira said, reaching for the call button. Every instinct screamed at Dominic to stop, but she was right. Every other route was blocked. The doors opened empty. They stepped inside, the doors closed. "Docking ring, Section 7, Kira said. Dominic's comm unit chirped. "Priority channel, Director Hastings." He accepted the connection. "Status." "Codes acquired, moving to extraction, security's heavier than briefed." "Expected. We fed the Valorians intelligence about a potential attack, necessary misdirection." Dominic glanced at Kira. Those sharp eyes were watching him. "And Thessan?" Silence stretched 3 seconds too long. "Different extraction point. Security protocols require—" "We extract together, that's protocol." "Protocols change, Rains. Your partner will be collected separately. Orders." Kira's hand drifted toward her sidearm. She'd heard everything. "Understood, we'll comply." "He killed the connection." "He's lying," Kira said. "I know." The elevator stopped. The doors opened onto an empty corridor. Not just quiet, evacuated. "I smell smoke," Kira said. "Electrical fire, 3 corridors north, and chemical accelerant." "They're staging a scene." The pieces fell into place. The increased security, the convenient escape route, the separate extractions, the empty docking ring. "They're going to blow my transport," Kira said quietly. "Frame me as a Valorian terrorist. Use the codes to fabricate evidence. Justify whatever war they want." She turned to face him fully. "Did you know?" "No." "Would you have stopped it if you did?" 3 months of missions. of fighting side by side, of conversations that had strayed far beyond professional during long stakeouts, 3 months of denying what every glance had been building toward. Yes, he said. Kira's entire body went rigid. Her weapon clattered to the deck as she collapsed, every muscle locked, back arched, teeth clenched, her eyes rolled back. Kira! Dominic caught her, hands finding the neural implant at the base of her skull. His fingers came away bloody. The implant was activating, killing. His comm chirped Hastings. I'm sorry, Rains, but she was always a liability. This way we get our war catalyst and eliminate a security breach. Clean, efficient. Kira convulsed in his arms, blood trickling from her nose. You're murdering her. I'm completing the mission. The codes will decrypt Valorian communications once we plant them in the wreckage. We'll discover attack plans. The Council will authorize military action. One alien's life against billions in economic benefits. Kira's heartbeat was becoming irregular, 30 seconds before the neural overload stopped it permanently. Extraction ship is waiting, Rains. Port 7-3. Walk away. You'll be a hero. Promoted. Dominic looked down at Kira, at the woman who'd saved his life in Jakarta, who'd beaten him at chess 4 times running, who'd looked at him 2 weeks ago with an expression that had made his breath catch. The woman dying because men like Hastings saw her as a convenient tool. He pulled his combat knife. Rains, what are you doing? The blade found the implant's seam. He'd never performed a field extraction. Doing it here would likely kill her. Leaving it would definitely kill her. Rains, stand down, that's an order. He cut. Blood welled over his hands as the blade sliced through connections and tissue. Kira arched, a strangled sound escaping. Dominic kept cutting, following the implant's outline through memory and desperate hope. Fire alarms erupted throughout the station. You just ended your career, Hastings said. Everything you've built, everyone you've cared about, I will destroy. You and that animal are dead. Dominic's knife found the implant's base. He twisted, pulled, and it came free. Kira gasped, a terrible rattling breath. Her eyes focused on his face. I've got you. She touched her neck, fingers finding the wound. You cut out my implant, they'll kill you for that. Probably. Smoke seeped under the elevator doors. Something exploded nearby, rattling the walls. Kira pushed herself upright, swaying but standing. She retrieved her weapon and looked at him with something raw and fierce. Why? Because he'd listened to Hastings justify genocide with spreadsheets. Because he'd learned aliens weren't tools. Because Kira Thessan deserved to live. And somewhere along the way, her life had become more important than his orders. Because he'd fallen in love with her, and that made them both traitors. Ask me later, he said. Her tail swept once, decisive. Later, I like the sound of that. She moved to the elevator controls, overriding the emergency panel. We need a ship, Dominic said. We need the files, proof of what Hastings told you. There's a terminal in the security hub, 3 levels up. That's suicide. Staying here is certain death. Dominic checked his ammunition. 2 magazines, maybe 50 rounds total, against a station full of security and whatever kill team Hastings had waiting. Bad odds. Together, he said. Kira reached out, her hand finding his. Blood had made both their palms slick, but her grip was steady. Those amber eyes held his. Together, she said. They ran into the smoke, into the fire, into the future they'd just chosen. Behind them, the life Dominic Rains had built closed like elevator doors. Ahead, alarms screamed and enemies gathered. 2 of the agency's best operatives had just become its most dangerous enemies. The security hub's door exploded inward under Kira's boot. Dominic was through before the smoke cleared, putting rounds into 2 guards before they could draw. Kira vaulted a console and drove her claws into the 3rd guard's vest. He went down hard. 30 seconds, Dominic said, taking position at the doorway. Kira's claws flew across the terminal interface, bypassing security protocols. Files are compartmentalized, need director-level access codes. We don't have those. No, but Hastings does. He's still connected to your comm unit. Dominic tossed her the device. She caught it, connected it to the terminal with a cable, and her fingers resumed their dance. Code scrolled across multiple screens faster than human eyes could track. Footsteps thundered in the corridor. 6 sets, military cadence, agency kill team. Kira, I know. Dominic stepped into the corridor. The kill team rounded the corner. 4 operators in tactical gear, weapons up, diamond formation. The lead operator's eyes widened. Rains, stand down. Director's orders are to bring you in alive. And Thessan? Silence. Dominic fired. The lead man dropped. The other 3 scattered, and return fire chewed into the wall beside his head. They advanced by pairs, textbook urban combat. 10 seconds, Kira said. An operator appeared at the doorway. Dominic put 2 rounds into his shoulder. Another appeared opposite. Dominic fired, but his slide locked back. Empty. He dropped the magazine, slammed the spare home. 2 seconds. The operator was through the door. Kira's pistol barked twice from behind him. The operator crumpled. Got it. Downloading now. The screens filled with file directories, operation names, mission parameters, budget allocations, tracing money to mercenary groups and extremist cells. Decades of false flag operations, assassinated peace advocates, engineered conflicts. The Valoran operation, complete with her fabricated death, planted evidence, projected casualty counts, hundreds of thousands dead for resources. How long? 60 seconds for full download, 20 for enough to prove the conspiracy. More footsteps, different direction, flanking, 20. An explosive charge hit the left wall, the detonation stunned, disoriented. The first operator threw 8 3 rounds. The second got past, rolling behind an overturned desk. Kira fired blind over her shoulder, trusting her ears. The operator grunted as rounds found flesh. Done. She yanked the drive free and shoved it into her vest. Then she pulled a thermite grenade, armed it, and tossed it onto the console. Move. They ran. The back exit opened onto a service stairwell. Behind them, thermite ignited with a sound like tearing metal. 2 levels down, Kira stumbled. Dominic caught her arm. I'm fine. You're bleeding. Later, they hit the docking ring at a dead run. Smoke obscured everything beyond 10 meters. Which way? Dominic asked. Kira's nose wrinkled, sorting through chaos. Port 12, small courier ship. 2 crew just finished refueling. They moved through the smoke. Emergency klaxons wailed. Someone ahead screamed orders about evacuation procedures. Port 12's airlock stood open. Through the window, Dominic could see the courier. Compact, ugly, but engines hot and boarding ramp down. A woman emerged from the smoke, station security, young, terrified. Her weapon trembled. Stop, hands up. Kira moved. One moment beside Dominic, the next on the woman, claws at her throat, body pinning her to the deck. The weapon clattered away. Please, the woman whispered. Kira's pupils had narrowed to slits. Her breathing came fast. For 3 seconds, Dominic saw something feral in her eyes. Then she released the woman and stood. Run. The security officer fled into the smoke. Dominic reached the courier's ramp first. 2 crew members inside looked up, human civilian contractors. Ship's not for rent, the pilot said. Dominic shot him in the leg. The man screamed and collapsed. His partner raised her hands immediately. It is now, get off. They dragged the wounded pilot down the ramp and disappeared. Kira sealed the airlock behind them and moved to the pilot station. Can you fly this? Dominic asked. I can fly anything. The engines thrummed, docking clamps released. Through the cockpit window, other ships scrambled to evacuate. Something impacted the hull. Weapons fire. They're shooting at us. Then hang on. Kira launched from the berth with enough acceleration to slam Dominic into a bulkhead. She threaded through evacuating ships with centimeters to spare. More weapons fire. An agency patrol craft pursued. Can we outrun them? Dominic asked, sliding into the co-pilot's seat. Not in this junk, but I just need to reach hyperspace threshold. She pushed the engines past safety limits. Warning lights cascaded. The patrol craft stayed on their tail, firing bursts that chewed into aft shielding. 30 seconds to threshold. The patrol craft accelerated, closing. 15 seconds to optimal firing range. Dominic pulled up weapons. The courier had defensive systems. Nothing impressive, but enough. He locked targeting and fired. The patrol craft juked, evading most shots, but one caught their starboard engine. Not destroyed, but slowed. Jumping, Kira said. Space twisted. Stars stretched into lines. The station, the patrol craft, the burning evidence, all vanished into hyperspace. They were alone. Kira slumped in the pilot's seat, hands shaking as they left the controls. Adrenaline drained, leaving only pain and exhaustion. Dominic moved to her side, fingers finding the wound at her neck. It had stopped bleeding, but the fur was matted and dark. Let me see. She turned, giving him access. His hands probed gently, checking for implant fragments, signs of infection. They were close now, closer than they'd ever been. He could feel her breathing, sense her rapid heartbeat. Dominic, thank you for choosing me. His hand found hers. Dried blood made the touch sticky and warm. I didn't choose you over the agency. I chose what was right. Same thing. Her hand tightened around his. In that moment, nothing else mattered. The stolen ship's cramped quarters forced proximity. One bunk, one fresher, barely enough space to stand. Dominic checked their supplies while Kira set navigation for the nearest unclaimed system. Somewhere to hide, regroup, plan their next move. We have 3 days of food, he said. Water recyclers functional. Fuel cells are at 60%. Enough to reach Epsilon Strand, unaligned territory, no extradition treaties. She stood from the pilot station, swaying slightly. The wound had weakened her more than she'd admit. You need to rest. So do you. I didn't have my brain fried by a neural implant. No, you just declared war on the most powerful intelligence agency in human space. Her tail swished. I'd say we're even. The proximity was doing things to his pulse. They'd maintained professional distance for 3 months, necessary boundaries that kept missions clean and emotions controlled. But those boundaries had burned away with the implant she'd worn, dissolved in the blood they'd shed together. Why did you do it? She asked quietly. You could have walked away. Hastings offered you everything. I told you I chose what was right. Bullshit. Her eyes held his. You chose me specifically, and I need to know why. The question deserved honesty. She'd earned that much. Jakarta, he said. When the ambush went sideways and you pulled me out of that building, you could have completed the mission, extracted the target, claimed all the credit. Instead, you came back for me. You would have done the same. Maybe. But after that, I started noticing things. The way you never left anyone behind. How you argued for non-lethal options when we had a choice. That time you spent an hour talking down that Valorian kid who'd gotten mixed up with extremists instead of just putting a round in him. He paused. The agency trained us to see aliens as tools or threats. You made that impossible. Her expression softened. I noticed things too. The way you always took point when things got dangerous. How you'd spend your off-duty time studying Valorian culture instead of drinking with the other operators. That you learned my language's formal greetings even though you didn't have to. Seemed polite. It was more than polite, it was respectful. You treated me like a person, not a useful alien. They stood in the cramped corridor, the hum of hyperspace engines filling the silence. So what now? Dominic asked. We deliver the evidence to someone who can use it, expose Hastings and everyone involved, stop the war before it starts. That's the mission. I meant what now with us. Kira's ears swiveled forward, full attention focused on him. What do you want it to be? I want to stop pretending there's nothing between us. I want to stop following protocols that only existed because the agency needed us distant and controllable. I want... She kissed him. It wasn't gentle or uncertain. Her hand fisted in his shirt, claws pricking through fabric to skin. His arms went around her, careful of her injured neck, and she made a sound low in her throat that had nothing to do with pain. They broke apart, both breathing hard. That, she said, I want that. The ship's proximity alarm chimed. They separated, professional instincts reasserting despite everything. Kira moved to the cockpit, checking scanners. We're being followed. 2 ships, they jumped in behind us. Configuration matches their hunter-killer class. Fast, armed, designed for pursuit. They tracked us through hyperspace? Apparently. Dominic checked weapons systems. Limited. The courier had been designed for speed and cargo, not combat. Can we outrun them? Kira's hands flew across controls, pulling every ounce of speed from the engines. For a while, but they'll catch us before we reach Epsilon Strand. Then we need a different plan. She looked at him, and despite the danger, despite the impossible odds, her expression held something fierce and determined. Together? Always. The Valorian outpost appeared on sensors like a ghost, hidden in the asteroid field's electromagnetic interference. Dominic watched through the cockpit as massive rocks parted to reveal docking facilities carved into stone. Home, Kira said quietly. They'd lost the agency pursuit by dumping their reactor signature into debris and going silent for 18 hours. Risky, but effective. A Valorian patrol craft intercepted them, weapons hot. Kira transmitted identification codes from before the agency. The patrol craft escorted them to a berth deep inside the asteroid. 6 Valorian soldiers waited as the airlock cycled, weapons ready. Their commander stepped forward, female, older, silver threading through rust fur. Kira Thessan, we believed you dead. The agency tried. This is Dominic Rains. He saved my life. The commander's gaze fixed on Dominic with predatory intensity. Here, this complicates things. We have evidence, Kira said, proof of agency operations spanning decades, false flag attacks, assassinated peace advocates, engineered wars. She held out the data drive. The commander took it carefully. Come, Commander Ravesh will want to see this. They were escorted through corridors. Dominic noted security checkpoints, defensive positions, soldiers watching him with expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility. The command center occupied the asteroid's heart. Commander Ravesh stood at the central console, white fur marking her age. She turned as they entered. Thessan, explain. Kira detailed everything. The mission, the discovery, Hastings' betrayal, their escape. Ravesh listened without interruption. When finished, she inserted the drive. Files cascaded across displays, operation names, budget allocations, casualty projections. The room fell silent. This is authentic? Ravesh asked. Pulled directly from agency servers. Ravesh's tail lashed angry. This proves what we've suspected, but having proof and using it are different. If we release this, it could destabilize the entire region. Or stop wars you're trying to prevent, Dominic said. Every eye turned to him. Commander, with respect, the agency counts on everyone being too afraid to act. That's how they've operated for decades. Someone has to break the cycle. And you volunteer? Turn against your own kind. I turned against murderers. That's not the same as turning against humanity. Ravesh studied him. Perhaps. We'll analyze the data. Meanwhile, you'll be our guests. Kira, officers' quarters, Rain, separate housing under guard. No, Kira said, we stay together. That's not appropriate. He cut a neural implant from my skull while the agency tried to murder me, threw away his career to save my life. Appropriate stopped mattering when we became fugitives. We stay together. Ravesh's ears flicked, amusement. Very well. Officer quarters, Section 3. Remain there until we've completed analysis. They were escorted to a small suite, guards stationed outside. Not quite prisoners, not quite guests. Kira collapsed onto the bunk. Finally, actual furniture. Dominic checked for surveillance, then sat beside her. Your people don't trust me. Can you blame them? You're carrying proof humans have been manipulating them for decades. I'm carrying proof because it's right. She rolled to face him. The wound on her neck had begun healing. I know, that's why I trust you. Her hand found his, the contact carrying weight. Kira, if this goes wrong, then we face it together. If Ravesh decides the evidence is too dangerous or determines I'm a security risk, then I'll break us out the same way we broke out of the station. You'd turn against your own people for me? She sat up, expression fierce. I'd turn against anyone who tries to bury the truth, just like you did, right and wrong. He pulled her close, mindful of her injury. She fit against him perfectly. What happens after? She asked quietly. After what? After we expose the conspiracy, after we've destroyed both our careers, what do we do then? We find somewhere quiet, somewhere the agency can't reach, build something that doesn't involve guns and espionage. You'd give up field work? I already gave up everything else. She pulled back to look at him. It's not a sacrifice if you're choosing something better. The kiss that followed was slower, deeper, weighted with promise. Her claws traced patterns across his shoulders, his hands tangled in her hair, careful of her ears. The door chimed. Kira stood, smoothing her uniform. Dominic checked his weapon. Commander Ravesh entered, expression grim. We've analyzed the files. Everything's authentic. The scope is worse than imagined. The agency hasn't just manipulated Valorian politics. They've infiltrated our military, intelligence services, government. How deep? Kira asked. Deep enough I can't be certain who to trust in my own command. Agency assets in every major Valorian institution. An explosion rocked the outpost. Emergency klaxons wailed. Ravesh's comm erupted with reports. Breach in Sector 7, multiple hostiles. Sabotage in the main reactor. Docking Bay 3 venting atmosphere. Ravesh's weapon was out instantly. Lockdown protocols, she looked at them. You brought them here. We lost the pursuit ships, Kira said. You lost the ones you saw. The agency planned this, knew you'd run here. They've activated every sleeper agent in the outpost. Another explosion closer. Lights flickered. This place is compromised, Dominic said. We need to evacuate. There's nowhere to go. We're surrounded by agency ships. They're here to destroy the evidence and everyone who's seen it. The door exploded inward. 3 Valorian soldiers entered, weapons raised, movements too precise, too human. Agency assets. Dominic fired first. The soldier dropped. Kira closed with the second, claws finding his throat. The third turned toward Ravesh. Dominic's second round caught him in the head. Ravesh stared at the bodies, her own soldiers turned traitor. How many more? No way to know, Kira said. The files showed dozens of compromised personnel, but not identities. The outpost shuddered. Weapons fire echoed through corridors. Valorians fighting Valorians. We need to get the evidence out, Dominic said. Broadcast it. Every network, every system. The main communications array was in Sector 7 where the breach occurred. Then we use a ship, get clear, transmit from there. Every ship is monitored. They'll destroy us immediately. Kira's ears swiveled. Not every ship. The courier we arrived in, already damaged, low-power signature. They might not notice it launching in this chaos. The courier barely flew. Its weapons were depleted, its shields failing. Against the agency fleet, they'd last maybe 3 minutes. But 3 minutes might be enough. I'll create a distraction, Ravesh said. Take as many ships as I can muster. Attack the agency fleet. They'll focus on us. That's suicide, Kira said. This outpost is already lost. Better to die fighting. Ravesh met Dominic's eyes. Get those files out. Make our deaths mean something. She was gone, shouting orders into her comm. Kira and Dominic ran through chaos. The outpost had become a battlefield. Valorians fighting each other, not knowing who to trust. Fires burned, bodies littered floors. They reached the docking bay. The courier waited, battered. Dominic sealed the airlock while Kira brought systems online. I hope you remember how to fly this. It hasn't been that long. The engine sputtered, caught, barely. Outside, Valorian ships launched. Ravesh's distraction, they threw themselves at the agency fleet with suicidal courage. Kira threaded the courier through chaos, its small size letting them slip past. Clear, transmitting now. Dominic initiated the broadcast. Every file transmitted simultaneously to every major network, every government server, every public system they could reach. An agency destroyer changed course toward them. They noticed, Kira said. How long until transmission completes? 2 minutes. The destroyer opened fire. Their shields lasted 3 seconds. The second volley tore into their hull. Atmosphere vented. Systems failed. But the transmission continued. Kira kept them alive through pure skill. Dominic returned fire with their last weapon. 1 minute. Another hit sheared off their starboard wing. They were dead in space. The destroyer moved in for the kill. 30 seconds. Through the window, Dominic could see Ravesh's ships dying, but the distraction was working. Transmission complete. The destroyer's cannons charged. Kira reached for Dominic's hand. Together? Always. The destroyer exploded. not from their weapons, from a Valorian cruiser that had broken through, sacrificing itself. Other ships appeared on sensors, not agency, not Valorian, a dozen different species responding to the broadcast coming to investigate. The agency fleet broke off, retreating into hyperspace. Dominic and Kira floated in the courier's wreckage, life support failing, waiting for rescue. But the evidence was out, the truth was spreading. They'd won, if they survived the next hour. The rescue ship belonged to the Thessan Confederacy, neutral arbiters who'd responded to the broadcast within hours. They pulled Dominic and Kira from the courier's wreckage with minutes of oxygen remaining. Within a day, the galaxy had fractured. Human colonies demanded agency accountability. Valorian separatists called for war. Other species revealed their own experiences with agency manipulation. The evidence was spreading faster than anyone could contain. And the agency was hunting them. "You're cleared for discharge," the Thessan doctor said, "but I recommend rest." "We don't have time," Dominic said. The doctor's compound eyes reflected strange patterns. "No, I suppose you don't." Kira sat on her bunk, testing her injured neck. The fur had grown back, but scar tissue remained beneath. "The Thalassans offered us asylum," she said. "In exchange for what?" "Testimony. They're convening a tribunal to investigate the agency. They want us before the Galactic Council." Dominic pulled on his new shirt. Everything he'd owned was gone, burned away. "If we testify, every intelligence service will know our faces." "They already do. Our images were in the files. We're famous now." Her tail swished. "Or infamous." A chime. A Thalassan diplomat entered, carrying a tablet showing news feeds from a dozen systems. "The situation is deteriorating. Director Hastings claims you're traitors who fabricated evidence. He's calling the broadcast terrorism." "People believe that?" Kira asked. "Some do. Without you present to authenticate the files, doubt spreads. The tribunal needs you, soon." "Where?" Dominic asked. "Nexus Station. Neutral territory. Maximum security. The council guarantees your safety." Dominic and Kira exchanged glances. Nothing was secure anymore. The agency had proven that at the Valorian Outpost. "We'll testify," Kira said, "but we need the original files, full chain of custody, forensic proof they haven't been altered." "Already prepared." The diplomat left, guards remained outside. "This is a trap," Dominic said quietly. "Probably, but it's our only move. If we don't testify, the agency controls the narrative." The journey to Nexus Station took 3 days. They reviewed files, prepared testimony, tried not to think about the target they'd become. News feeds showed agency spokespeople attacking their credibility. The propaganda machine was working. Nexus Station appeared, a massive construct at the intersection of 3 major trade routes. Warships from a dozen species formed protective perimeters. The station bristled with defensive systems. "If the agency hits us here, it'll be war against the entire council," Kira said. "Hastings has already committed acts of war. What's one more?" They docked. Security was overwhelming. Biometric scans, weapons confiscation, full-body imaging. Dominic felt naked without his sidearm. The tribunal chamber was enormous. Tiered seating for delegates from hundreds of species, holographic displays, translation systems. At the center, a witness platform. Dominic and Kira were escorted to holding rooms, separate rooms. "Standard procedure," the guard explained. "Witnesses testify individually to prevent coordination." The door sealed behind Dominic. Through a window, he could see the chamber filling with delegates. This was it. Hours passed. Other witnesses testified, Valorian intelligence officers, human defectors, victims. Their testimony appeared on monitors. Each corroborated the files. But without Dominic and Kira, it was circumstantial. A guard entered. "They're ready for you." The walk to the platform felt like an execution march. Every eye tracked him. He recognized some delegates, human ambassadors, alien officials whose communications he'd intercepted. The council chair, a towering Valkyrian, gestured to the platform. "Dominic Raines, you stand accused of treason, theft of classified information, and conspiracy to destabilize human space. How do you respond?" "Guilty of all of it." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The chair raised a limb for silence. "Explain." He did. Everything. The mission, The discovery, Hastings' orders to murder Kira, his decision to save her, the files they'd stolen, the evidence they'd broadcast. He spoke for 2 hours, interrupted by questions from council members or objections from human delegates. Through it all, he felt exposed. Every secret he'd kept for 8 years laid bare. When he finished, the chair called for recess. Dominic was escorted back to his holding room. The door opened, not a guard. Owen Garrett. His former partner stood in the doorway, weapon drawn but pointed at the floor. They'd trained together, fought together, trusted each other for 3 years before Dominic had been partnered with Kira. Owen. Dom, been a while. You here to kill me? Orders say yes. Owen stepped inside, the door sealed. But I wanted to hear it from you first. Did you really betray us for an alien? The way he said alien carried disgust. I betrayed murderers. Kira had nothing to do with that choice. Bullshit. You threw away everything for her. That's not principle, Dom. That's infatuation. Maybe it started that way, but I saw the files. I heard Hastings justify genocide with profit margins. You can't tell me that's what we signed up for. Owen's grip tightened on his weapon. We signed up to protect humanity, whatever it takes. Even if it means becoming the monsters we're supposed to fight? There are no monsters, just people making hard choices. Then what does that make Hastings? What does that make us? Owen raised his weapon, centering on Dominic's chest. I came to give you a chance. Turn yourself in, repudiate the testimony, say the Valorians coerced you. The agency will spin it. You might survive. And Kira? She's alien. She doesn't matter. Dominic's hands clenched. She matters to me. I know, that's the problem. I'm sorry, Dom, but you crossed a line. The door exploded inward. Kira rolled through, claws extended, moving with predatory speed. She hit Owen before he could adjust his aim, driving him into the wall. His weapon clattered away. Owen tried to fight, but Kira was faster, stronger. Within seconds, she had him pinned, claws at his throat. Don't, Dominic said. She looked at him, pupils narrowed to slits. He was going to kill you. I know, but he's not the enemy. He's a soldier following orders, just like we were. He said I didn't matter. He's wrong, but killing him won't change his mind. It'll just prove him right. Her claws trembled against Owen's skin, then she released him and stepped back. Owen scrambled for his weapon. Kira kicked it away. Go, tell Hastings the truth is already spreading. Tell him it's over. Owen backed toward the door, eyes wide. This isn't over. The agency's been around for 70 years. It'll outlive you both. He was gone. Alarms erupted throughout the station. Security had detected the breach. Guards flooded the corridor. We need to move, Kira said. Where? We're surrounded. Then we improvise. She pulled a data chip from her vest. The original files, everything needed to authenticate their testimony. The Tribunal needs this. If we can get it to the council chamber, they can continue without us. You want to split up? If we stay together, we're one target. If we split, at least one of us might make it. Dominic grabbed her arm. No, we stay together. That's been the plan from the beginning. Her expression softened. Dominic, be practical. Together or not at all. She studied his face, reading the determination there. Then she nodded. Together. The holding room had one exit, the corridor now filling with security. But these rooms had been designed for high-value witnesses. There would be emergency protocols. Dominic found the maintenance panel, pried it open. Behind it, access to the station's service tunnels. Can you navigate these? He asked. Kira's nose wrinkled, sorting through scents. Yes, this way. They dropped into the tunnels as guards breached the holding room. The narrow passages forced them to move single file, Kira leading through darkness with her enhanced senses. Council chamber is 3 levels down, northern quadrant, she said. Voices echoed behind them. The guards had found their entry point. They ran through the tunnels, taking turns at Kira's direction. She moved with absolute confidence, her nose and ears guiding them through the maze. A junction ahead, Kira stopped abruptly. Armed presence, 4 guards blocking the path to the chamber. Can we go around? Not without adding 15 minutes. We don't have 15 minutes. Dominic checked his options. No weapons, no equipment, just his training and Kira's enhanced abilities. Then we go through. They emerged from the tunnel into a service corridor. The 4 guards turned, weapons rising. Station security, not agency, but their orders would be the same. "Stand down," the lead guard commanded. Kira moved first. She closed the distance before they could fire, her speed overwhelming their training. Dominic followed, using techniques honed over 8 years. Disarm, disable, neutralize, non-lethal when possible. The fight lasted 15 seconds. All 4 guards were down, unconscious or groaning. "Council chamber," Kira said, already moving. They burst through the chamber's side entrance. The entire tribunal turned as they ran down the central aisle. Dominic held up the data chip. Original files, chain of custody intact. Security converged from all sides, but the council chair raised a limb. "Stop." The security forces froze. "Approach," the chair said. Dominic and Kira reached the witness platform. He handed over the chip. The chair inserted it into the tribunal's system. Data cascaded across every display in the chamber. Files, communications, operations, everything, authenticated and verified. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouting, demanding answers, calling for justice. And somewhere in the chaos, Dominic found Kira's hand. They'd done it. Whatever came next, they'd done it. The tribunal chamber descended into chaos. Delegates shouted accusations while holographic displays cycled through decades of agency crimes. Human ambassadors attempted damage control, but the evidence was overwhelming. Security surrounded the witness platform. Protective custody now, not arrest. The council chair called for order, her crystalline form refracting light. "This tribunal recognizes the authenticity of the presented evidence. Director Hastings and 17 senior agency officials are summoned to appear within 72 hours. Failure to comply will result in sanctions against Earth's diplomatic standing." A human delegate stood, face flushed. "You cannot dictate terms to a sovereign species based on stolen intelligence. We can when that intelligence proves systematic violations of interstellar law. The agency's activities fall within that mandate." More shouting, but beneath it all, Dominic felt something shift. The narrative had changed. They'd won. Or started winning. Guards escorted them to secure quarters. Actual protection now. The suite overlooked Nexus Station's central hub where ships from across the galaxy docked. Kira collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion overtaking adrenaline. How long until Hastings responds? He won't comply. He can't. The moment he appears, he's finished. So what does he do? Dominic moved to the viewport. Goes underground, activates loyalists, tries to salvage the agency's network, maybe stages a coup if Earth's government moves against him. "You know him that well?" "I was trained by men like him. They don't surrender, they adapt." Kira joined him at the viewport. "We could run, take asylum, disappear into unaligned space, let others fight this battle." "Could you do that?" Her tail swished, frustrated. "No, but I wanted to pretend we had the option." He turned to face her. The lighting caught copper tones in her fur, amber depths of her eyes. 3 weeks ago, she'd been his partner. Professional, distant. Now she was something else entirely. "What do we do after?" he asked. "You asked me that before." "You didn't answer." Her clawed fingers traced his jaw with surprising gentleness. "Find somewhere quiet, build something that's ours." "That simple?" "Nothing's simple, but we've spent our careers serving causes and following orders. Maybe it's time to just be." He kissed her, and she responded with intensity that spoke of relief and promise and survival against impossible odds. Her claws found his hair. His hands slid around her waist. A chime interrupted. The council chair's assistant appeared on the comm screen. "The council requests your presence immediately. Director Hastings has issued a response." They reached the chamber within minutes. The main display showed Hastings' face, older than Dominic remembered, but still carrying cold certainty. The so-called evidence presented by traitors Rains and Thessan is fabricated, a sophisticated disinformation campaign designed to destabilize Earth's security apparatus. These individuals murdered agency personnel and conspired with hostile alien forces. Their claims are desperate lies. Murmurs rippled through delegates. Hastings wasn't denying the activities, he was attacking the source. Furthermore, Earth's government has authorized me to continue agency operations with full support. We will not bow to alien pressure or submit to show trials. The agency exists to protect humanity's interests, and we will continue that mission regardless of foreign interference. The transmission ended. The council chair turned to them. It appears your government has chosen defiance over accountability. Some of our government, Dominic said. Not all humans support Hastings. There are factions calling for reform. This isn't humanity speaking. It's one corrupt institution. Nevertheless, Earth's official position is clear. Kira stepped forward. Then we provide additional evidence, names, locations, operational details, everything we know about the agency's infrastructure. You can't prosecute Hastings directly, but you can expose every asset, every operation, dismantle them piece by piece. That would require extensive debriefing, weeks, possibly months. Then we'll give you months, however long it takes. The chair studied them. You understand this makes you permanent targets. They're already hunting us, Dominic said. At least this way, every hour we survive costs them more than it costs us. The chair's surface rippled. Agreement. Very well. We'll establish secure facilities for your debriefing. Maximum protection. They spent 6 weeks at Nexus Station, locked in secure rooms with council investigators. Every mission, every contact, every operational detail, all recorded, verified, cross-referenced. They exposed agency networks across a dozen species, revealed sleeper agents, traced money flows. It was exhausting, painful work, reliving operations they'd thought righteous, learning the true costs. But each revelation weakened Hastings' position. The galaxy responded. Some species severed diplomatic ties with Earth. Others demanded reforms. Human colonies questioned agency presence. Politicians who'd defended Hastings suddenly discovered principles. The agency didn't collapse. Institutions that old had deep roots, but it fractured. And through it all, Dominic and Kira remained together, working side by side during debriefings, falling into bed exhausted each night, slowly learning what it meant to be something other than operatives. Building something that was theirs. On the final day of debriefing, the council chair met them personally. We've received intelligence that Hastings is planning a final operation, a strike against this station. He intends to destroy the evidence and eliminate you both. When? Dominic asked. Within 48 hours. We're evacuating non-essential personnel and reinforcing defenses. But if Hastings commits fully, Nexus Station may not survive. Then we leave, Kira said. Draw him away. That's suicide. His forces will overwhelm you. Maybe. But we've gotten good at surviving impossible situations. The chair's surface rippled. The Thessan Confederacy has offered to establish a colony world for refugees from agency persecution, a place where species can coexist without manipulation. They've asked if you would help establish it, serve as examples of successful human-alien cooperation. Dominic looked at Kira. Something unspoken passed between them. After we deal with Hastings, Dominic said. You're certain? We started this fight, we should finish it. They were given a ship, small, fast, armed with defensive systems. They loaded supplies, checked weapons, filed a flight plan through 3 systems before reaching unaligned space. And they broadcast their route publicly, deliberately, daring Hastings to follow. He did. The agency fleet appeared 2 hours after they left Nexus Station. 6 ships, hunter-killer class, overwhelming force against a single target. Kira pushed their ship to maximum speed. The agency fleet matched them, slowly closing. They'd be caught within an hour. Ready? Dominic asked. Ready. They'd planned this carefully. Their route passed through the Delmar Nebula, dense particle clouds disrupting sensors and targeting. A maze where small ships held advantages. They dove into the nebula, the agency fleet followed. And waiting inside, hidden by interference, were ships from a dozen species. Valorian cruisers, Thessan destroyers, even human vessels from colonies that had rejected agency control. All responding to the broadcast, all willing to stand against the organization that had manipulated them. The agency fleet found itself surrounded, outgunned, trapped. A transmission came through. Hastings' face appeared. Clever, Rains, but this changes nothing. The agency will survive. There will always be those who understand humanity's interests require hard choices. Maybe, Dominic said, but there will also be people who choose truth over convenience, who believe we can be better. You lose, Hastings. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. We'll see. The transmission cut. The agency fleet attempted to break through. Some ships made it, others didn't. Hastings' flagship escaped into hyperspace, damaged but intact. He'd survived to fight another day, but his network was broken, his credibility destroyed, his power fractured. It was enough. The Allied fleet escorted them to Thessan space, to the colony world being established for agency refugees. A place where species met as equals. They stood at the viewport of the transport ship, watching the world grow larger. Green and blue, familiar yet alien. A new start. Think we can do this? Kira asked. Build something peaceful after everything we've done? Dominic took her hand. I think we can try, together. She leaned against him, her head finding that familiar spot against his shoulder. Together? The transport descended through atmosphere. Below, construction crews from a dozen species worked side by side building homes and infrastructure. Representatives from governments across the galaxy waited to greet them. The two fugitives who'd changed everything. They'd been the agency's best operatives, trained to manipulate, to kill, to serve without question. Then falling in love had made them the enemy, had forced them to choose conscience over duty, truth over orders, each other over everything they'd known. And somehow impossibly they'd survived. The transport touched down, the airlock opened, they stepped out together into sunlight and fresh air and the sound of different species working in harmony. Into the future they'd fought for. Into the life they'd chosen. Together,